For 35 years, Pamela was more than my best friend. She was my sister, my confidant, my other half. We met in kindergarten, shared every secret, survived every storm together. When my marriage fell apart, she held my hand. When my mother died, she held me up. I trusted her with my life, my dreams, my deepest fears. So when I discovered she was the one who had systematically destroyed everything I loved, my reputation, my career, my relationship with my daughter, I didn't just lose a friend. I lost my entire world. But here's what she didn't count on. I'm a survivor. And survivors don't just heal, they build something better. Hello. Welcome to Hurt Stories. Let me tell you about Pamela. I met her when I was 5 years old, kindergarten. She was sitting alone at a small table, drawing a picture of a house with a rainbow over it. I walked up to her and said, "I like your rainbow." She looked up at me with these big brown eyes and said, "I like you." That was it. That was the beginning of 35 years of friendship. We grew up together, side by side, through everything. Elementary school, middle school, high school, we were inseparable. Our mothers used to call us the twins because we were always together, always finishing each other's sentences, always showing up at each other's houses without calling first. When my parents divorced, Pamela was there. She sat on my bedroom floor and held my hand while I cried. She didn't say much, she didn't have to. She just stayed. When her father died, I was there. I sat in the back of the church and watched her fall apart, and afterward I held her for hours. I didn't leave her side for a week. We went to different colleges, but we wrote letters, real letters on paper with stamps. I have a box of them somewhere, hundreds of pages of our lives, our dreams, our fears. I can't bring myself to throw them away, even now. After college, we moved to the same city. By accident, almost, we both ended up there for work, and it felt like fate. We lived 3 blocks apart. We had dinner together every Wednesday night like clockwork. We traveled together, celebrated together, survived together. When I met David, Pamela was the first person I told. When we got married, she was my maid of honor. When my daughter Chloe was born, Pamela was in the delivery room, holding my hand, crying with joy. She wasn't just my best friend. She was my family, the sister I never had, the person I trusted more than anyone in the world. I thought I knew her. I thought our friendship was unshakable, eternal, bulletproof. I thought nothing could ever come between us. I was wrong. Looking back now, I can see the signs. They were there all along, small and subtle, easy to miss when you trust someone completely. The way she'd sometimes make comments about my marriage. Little things, innocuous on their own. "David's working late again? That's interesting. You're okay with him traveling so much? He didn't get you anything for your anniversary. Huh." I brushed them off. She was just looking out for me. That's what friends do. The way she'd sometimes forget to include me in things. Girls' nights that I heard about later. Weekend trips that were planned without me. Inside jokes I wasn't part of. I told myself it was nothing. She had other friends, other relationships. That's healthy. I didn't need to be included in everything. The way she'd get strangely competitive. Not overtly, never overtly. But she'd always have a slightly better story, a slightly bigger achievement, a slightly more interesting life. When I got a promotion, she'd just gotten a better one. When I bought a new car, she'd just bought a nicer one. When Chloe did something amazing, Pamela's kids had done something more amazing. I told myself she was just ambitious, just driven, just trying to keep up. The truth is, I didn't want to see. I couldn't afford to see, because seeing would mean questioning the foundation of my life, and I wasn't ready for that. So I didn't see. For years, I didn't see. I trusted her completely, absolutely, without question. And she used that trust to destroy me. The first crack came with David. My marriage to David wasn't perfect. No marriage is. We had our struggles, our ups and downs. But I loved him and I thought he loved me. We'd been together for 18 years. We had a daughter. We had a life. Then one day, he sat me down and said he wanted a divorce. I was devastated. I didn't see it coming. I asked why, and he said he just wasn't happy anymore. He said we'd grown apart. He said he needed something different. I asked if there was someone else. He said no. He said it was just him, just us, just. Over, I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He'd never lied to me before, or so I though. Pamela was my rock through the divorce. She held me while I cried. She listened to hours of my pain. She told me I deserved better. She said David was an idiot. She was everything I needed. After the divorce, things between Pamela and me grew even closer. We talked every day. We saw each other multiple times a week. She became my lifeline, my only constant in a world that had fallen apart. I was grateful, so grateful. I told her things I'd never told anyone, my deepest fears, my darkest thoughts, my most vulnerable feelings. I trusted her completely. I had no idea she was collecting ammunition. The second crack came with my daughter, Chloe. Chloe was 17 when David and I divorced. She handled it better than I expected, better than I handled it, honestly. She was strong, resilient, focused on her future. She was applying to colleges, making plans, moving forward. But after the divorce, she started to pull away from me, slowly at first, then more noticeably. She stopped confiding in me. She stopped wanting to spend time with me. She became distant, cold, almost like a stranger. I asked her what was wrong. She said nothing. I asked if I'd done something. She said no. I asked if she was okay. She said she was fine, but she wasn't fine, and neither was. I talked to Pamela about it. I told her how worried I was, how hurt I felt, how confused. She listened sympathetically, nodded, offered comfort. She said Chloe was just going through a phase. She said teenagers are like that. She said it would pass. I believed her. She was a mother too. She knew things. What I didn't know was that Pamela had been talking to Chloe, not as a friend of the family, as a confidant. She'd been meeting her for coffee, taking her to lunch, listening to her complaints about me. And what I didn't know was that Pamela was feeding Chloe a narrative about what a terrible mother I was, about how I'd driven David away, about how I was selfish, demanding, impossible to please, about how Chloe deserved better. I didn't know any of this, not until it was too late. The third crack came with my career. I'd worked at the same marketing firm for 15 years. I was good at my job, really good. I'd been promoted several times. I had a reputation as reliable, creative, hardworking. I was up for a big promotion, creative director, a position I'd wanted for years. Then, suddenly, everything changed. My boss started acting strange, distant, cold. He canceled our regular meetings. He stopped including me in important emails. He gave my biggest project to someone else. I asked what was wrong. He said nothing. I asked if I'd done something. He said no. But I could feel it, something had shifted. Then one day HR called me in for a meeting. They said there had been complaints. Complaints about my behavior, my attitude, my performance. Complaints from multiple sources. They said they were putting me on probation. They said my promotion was on hold indefinitely. I was stunned. I asked for details. They wouldn't give them. I asked who had complained. They said it was confidential. I asked what I could do to fix it. They said they'd be in touch. I went home and cried. I called Pamela. She listened. She comforted. She said it would be okay. What I didn't know was that she was the one behind the complaints. She'd called my boss, pretending to be a concerned colleague. She'd spread rumors about me, whispered lies about my work, planted seeds of doubt in everyone who mattered. She'd been doing it for months, systematically, carefully, invisible, and I had no idea. The unraveling happened slowly, then all at once. I lost my job, The probation turned into termination. They said it was for performance issues. I knew it was more than that, but I couldn't prove it. I had no evidence, no witnesses, no recourse. Chloe moved out. She was 18 by then, heading to college. But she didn't just move out, she cut me off. She stopped returning my calls, stopped answering my texts. She went to live with David full-time. She told mutual friends she needed space from me. David remarried quickly. His new wife was lovely, apparently. Chloe loved her. They were a happy family, and I was on the outside. I was alone, completely, utterly alone. My marriage was gone, my daughter was gone, my career was gone, my best friend was the only one left, and then one night I found out the truth. It was an accident, really. A slip. I was at Pamela's house using her computer while she was in the kitchen. An email popped up on her screen. It was from someone I knew, a former colleague. The subject line was my name. I shouldn't have looked, I know that, but I didn't. The email was long, detailed. It referenced conversations I'd never had, events I'd never attended, complaints I'd never made. It was clear in reading it that Pamela had been feeding this person information about me for years. Lies, twisted truths, careful manipulations designed to make me look unstable, unreliable, unlikable. I scrolled through her sent folder. There were dozens of emails like this, to my boss, to David, to Chloe's friends, to mutual acquaintances, all carefully crafted, all designed to destroy my reputation, my relationships, my life. I sat there, frozen, as the truth washed over me. Pamela, my best friend, my sister, my other half, had spent years systematically destroying everything I loved. The divorce, David's coldness, his distance, his sudden desire to leave. She'd been whispering in his ear, planting seeds of doubt, making him see me as the problem. Chloe's estrangement. The lunches, the conversations, the narrative about what a terrible mother I was. She'd been poisoning my daughter against me. My career, the complaints, the rumors, the whispers. She'd been undermining me for years, waiting for the moment to strike. I closed the computer. I walked out of her house without saying goodbye. I drove home in a daze, my mind racing, my heart shattered. And then, in the darkness of my empty house, I made a decision. She thought she'd destroyed me. She thought she'd won. She had no idea what was coming. The first few weeks after the discovery were the hardest of my life. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed time to process, to plan, to prepare. I needed to understand how someone I'd loved for 35 years could do this to me. I went through old photos, old letters, old memories. I traced the arc of our friendship, looking for clues, for warning signs, for moments I'd missed. They were there, of course. I saw them now. The competitiveness, the subtle digs, the way she'd always needed to be the center of attention, the one with the better story, the one who came out on top. I realized something painful. Pamela hadn't become my enemy overnight. She'd always been my enemy, I just hadn't known it. Our entire friendship from kindergarten to now had been a competition to her, a game she was playing with me as the opponent. She'd kept me close because I made her feel superior. She'd supported me because my struggles made her look successful. She'd helped me because my need made her feel powerful. I wasn't her friend, I was her foil, her sidekick, her audience. And when I started to succeed, when my marriage was good, when my daughter was thriving, when my career was progressing, she couldn't stand in. So she destroyed it, all of it. I grieved. God, how I grieved. Not just for the life I'd lost, but for the friendship I'd thought I had. For the 35 years of memories that were now tainted, poisoned, ruined. For the person I'd loved who had never really existed. I grieved for the little girl who'd drawn rainbows in kindergarten. For the teenager who'd held my hand through my parents' divorce. For the woman who'd stood beside me at my wedding. None of them were real. They were all characters in a play Pamela was directing, and I was the fool who'd believed the script. After the grief came the rage, and after the rage came the plan. I wasn't going to confront her. I wasn't going to accuse her. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me broken. She wanted a reaction. She wanted to see me fall apart, to confirm her narrative that I was unstable, emotional, crazy. I wasn't going to give her that. Instead, I was going to build something better. A life so full, so rich, so successful that she couldn't touch it. A life that proved, beyond any doubt, that her destruction had only made me stronger. I started with therapy. I needed to understand why I'd been so blind, why I'd trusted so completely, why I'd ignored all the signs. My therapist, a wise woman named Dr. Rivera, helped me see that my need to be loved had made me vulnerable, that my desire to see the best in people had made me blind to the worst, that my loyalty, which I'd always seen as a strength, had been used as a weapon against me. I started rebuilding my career. I reached out to old contacts, explained my situation carefully without accusing Pamela, and started freelancing. Small projects at first, then bigger ones. I worked harder than I'd ever worked, pouring my rage and grief into my work. I started rebuilding my relationship with Chloe, slowly, carefully, without pressure. I sent her letters, real letters like I used to send Pamela. I told her I loved her, that I missed her, that I was here whenever she was ready. I didn't blame her, didn't accuse her, didn't pressure her. I just loved her, quietly and consistently. I started rebuilding my life. I joined a hiking group, made new friends, discovered new hobbies. I traveled alone, which terrified me at first, then exhilarated me. I learned that I could be happy on my own, that I didn't need anyone to complete me. And slowly, painfully, I started to hear. The confrontation came 2 years after I discovered the truth. I didn't plan it. It happened organically, inevitably, like two planets on a collision course. I was at a coffee shop, working on my laptop when she walked in. She looked the same, exactly the same, like nothing had happened, like she hadn't spent years destroying my life. She saw me. Her face flickered, surprise, then calculation, then a smile. The same warm smile she'd always worn, the one I'd trusted for 35 years. She walked over. She said my name like a question, like she wasn't sure I'd respond. I looked at her. For a long moment, I just looked at her. And then I said, "Hello, Pamela." She sat down. She asked how I was. She said she'd missed me. She said she'd been worried about me. I almost laughed. Worried? She'd been worried, after everything she'd done. I didn't laugh. I just looked at her and I told her the truth. I told her I knew. I told her about the emails, the lies, the manipulations. I told her I knew about David, about Chloe, about my career. I told her I knew everything. Her face changed. The smile disappeared. The warmth vanished. What was left was cold, hard, and ugly. She didn't deny it. She didn't apologize. She just looked at me with something like contempt and said, "You were always so naive, so trusting, so easy." I nodded. I said, "Yes, I was, but I'm not anymore." I stood up. I looked down at her, this woman who had been my best friend, my enemy, my destroyer. And I felt nothing. No anger, no hatred, no grief, just a quiet, profound peace. I said, "You tried to destroy me. You failed. I built a better life without you, and I'm happier than I've ever been." She stared at me, speechless. I smiled. I said, "Goodbye, Pamela," and I walked out. That was 3 years ago. 3 years since I walked out of that coffee shop and left Pamela behind forever. My life now is nothing like the life she tried to destroy. I have my own business now, a consulting firm that helps women rebuild their lives after betrayal. I've worked with hundreds of women, women whose husbands left them, whose friends betrayed them, whose lives fell apart. I help them see that the end is also a beginning, that the worst thing that happened to them can become the best thing if they left. Chloe came back to me. It took time, years of patience, of consistency, of love, but she's here now. We have dinner together every Sunday. She calls me when she's happy, when she's sad, when she just wants to talk. She's my daughter again, my beautiful, wonderful daughter. I have friends now, real friends. People who don't compete with me, don't envy me, don't want to destroy me. People who celebrate my successes and hold me through my struggles. People who are exactly who they seem to be. I have a life, a full, rich, beautiful life, a life that Pamela can never touch. I think about her sometimes, not with longing, never with longing, but with a kind of distant curiosity. I wonder if she's happy. I wonder if she ever thinks about what she did. I wonder if she regrets. I don't know the answers, and I don't need to. She's not part of my story anymore. People ask me how I forgave her. The truth is, I didn't. Not in the way they mean. I didn't have a moment of grace where I let go of all the anger and embraced her with love. I didn't pray for her or wish her well. I just stopped carrying her. For years, Pamela was a weight in my heart. Every time I thought about her, I felt heavy. Every time I remembered the betrayal, I felt sick. I was carrying her with me everywhere, like a stone in my pocket. And one day, I just put the stone down. I didn't do it for her. I did it for me. I was tired of being heavy. I was tired of being sick. I was tired of giving her space in my head and my heart when she didn't deserve it. So I let her go, not with a big gesture, not with a dramatic speech, just quietly, privately, one day at a time. And here's what I learned. Betrayal is a gift, not the betrayal itself, that's poison, but what comes after, the rebuilding, the rediscovery, the becomes. Pamela thought she was destroying me. She thought she was winning. She had no idea she was giving me the greatest gift of my life. The gift of myself. So here I am, 50 years old, alone but not lonely, wounded but healed, broken but whoever. My best friend tried to ruin my life. She took my marriage, my daughter, my career, my reputation. She took everything she could really. But she couldn't take me. She couldn't take my spirit, my resilience, my ability to rise. She couldn't take my future. That was mine, all mine. I built a better life without her. A life she can never touch. A life that is mine, completely and beautifully mine. If you're listening to this and someone has betrayed you, a friend, a partner, a family member, I want you to hear something. You can survive this. You can rebuild. You can become something they never imagined. The betrayal will hurt. It will break you. But broken things can be rebuilt. And sometimes what you build is stronger, more beautiful, more real than what was there before. My best friend ruined my life. I built a better one without having one. And I've never been happened. Thanks for listening. If you want to hear more story like this, please like the video and subscribe the channel. Hit the bell icon to get notified.